A broken home, a family in shambles, a failing and crumbling way past his prime superstar at the verge of what looks like the possible end of what could have been one of Hollywood's largest familial empires. The story of Will Smith and the Smiths as a whole has always baffled me, but let's start with the main man, because Will Smith came from absolutely nothing and made himself into the biggest thing in Hollywood in less than 2 decades. That's definitely easier said than done because Smith had no godfather or ties to the industry, which made his sort of rags to riches story all the more captivating to the audiences. And along with that perfect underdog story, Smith also had the personality of a superstar and such good charm that further cemented his screen presence and made people really appreciate and cherish his off-screen persona as well. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as successful as it was just the start for Will Smith. It's like even after that much beloved and enigmatic performance, people had just seen the tip of the iceberg, and that did indeed turn out to be true because the man had unbelievable range and also brilliant comedic timing, which then all culminated into an unprecedented box office run in his rookie years between 95 and 97, where all three of his movies were absolute blockbusters, earning a cumulative total of nearly $1.6 billion. Even from today's standards, that's an amazing gross, but we are talking about 30 years back, which feels weird to even say out loud. But back then, this was almost unprecedented, especially for a man of color, because the only other actor who achieved that kind of success and in leading roles was the legendary Denzel Washington. Also in 1997, an event occurred that in retrospect was the one event that changed his life forever and led to his subsequent destruction. Smith married his girlfriend of 3 years, Jada Corin Pinkett, the woman who he was dating when he was already married to his ex-wife Sherry Zampino. But Pinkett was, and it looks like is and will always be in love with Tupac Shakur. Although Pinkett has always maintained that their friendship was platonic and that Shakur was more like a brother to her, but at least from the outside perspective, it looks like Jada has been living as Tupac's widow since his untimely death, and she's dedicated her life to his memory. That's truly tragic because Will has always maintained that Jada is quote-unquote the one, and he has said on multiple occasions that she's the love of his life. Talk about a one-sided fiasco. Back in 97, everything was just perfect with the Smith family. The two newlyweds were the talk of the town who seemed like the perfect pair, ready to go conquer Hollywood and become practically royalty. In 1998, just 1 year later, good news came as Will and Jada were expecting their first baby boy, and Jaden Christopher Sire Smith was born. And just 2 short years later, on the 31st of October in the year 2000, a baby girl graced the Smith family with her presence, and they named her Willow Smith. Years went on and the Smith family's stock kept rising higher and higher. On one hand, Will was hitting it out of the park with critically brilliant performances like his portrayal of Muhammad Ali in the biopic named Ali in 2001 and the soul-touching Pursuit of Happiness where he plays the role of Chris Gardner. And on the other hand, Will's star power shined brighter as he delivered blockbuster after blockbuster such as Men in Black 2 and 3, Hitch, Hancock, I Am Legend, and I, Robot. His name had started to be mentioned in the same breath as Tom Cruise and Leonardo DiCaprio as Hollywood's most bankable stars. Betting money on Will was almost a guaranteed success, and Jada herself was doing some amazing work and starring in some massively financial successes such as The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions and the Madagascar trilogy. She was also making a name for herself for her philanthropic work through the Will and Jada Foundation, which gained her some very high praise and an insane degree of respect from her peers in Hollywood. And it's not even just the two, because even Jaden Smith was instantly shot into superstardom after Will Smith launched him, where he played the role of his on-screen son Chris Gardner Jr. in The Pursuit of Happiness. Jaden had an innocence and honesty about him along with the charisma and acting chops which he seemed to have inherited from his father. The natural chemistry they shared paid off, and Jaden was established as a star in the making. And then came Karate Kid, that movie that not only made an unbelievable $350 million, but also further cemented Jaden's status as a bankable star, and the boy was just 12. Sky seemed to be the limit for this family that seemed perfect, and they had more or less reached the peak. But in 2013, the inevitable fall began. It all started with what was supposed to be Will Smith's masterstroke to cement Jaden as the leading man instead of a child star with the movie After Earth. Smith had left no stone unturned. He went all in. From choosing the genre which had previously had a 100% strike rate for him, which was sci-fi, and he also hired one of Hollywood's top directors at the time, M. Night Shyamalan, who had previously proven his mettle in the director's chair, along with making sure that it looked like it was Jaden's show. But the gamble backfired bad and Will and Jaden tasted a big loss, almost for the first time in their careers. Because not only did the movie not make any profit along with being the worst summer opener for Will in 2 decades, it was also panned in every way possible. A baseless story which was by the way written by Will Smith himself, the half-baked visuals, an overblown budget, and the terrible acting of a previously applauded Jaden who seemed way out of his element in the genre. And to add insult to injury, Jada, in the same year, in fact a month prior to the film's release, had given out a statement which kind of pointed to an open marriage between Will and herself. Well, people did not see that coming because up until that point, Will and Jada were the perfect Hollywood power couple, and this revelation made their whole marriage and public image seem like a decade-long facade. Although Jada later denied these rumors and tried to spin a different tale, cracks had already started to form and the illusion was failing. But the whole thing truly went bust in 2019 after the infamous season 1 episode 11 from Jada's Red Table Talk, where Jada told Will about her quote-unquote entanglement.
An entanglement?
Yes.
Basically her affair with her son's friend, and how it was awesome, and shout all the details of the experience in his face live on the internet, while he very clearly crumbled and she didn't seem to give a flying fuck. I think the original idea was to showcase the couple's vulnerabilities and their deep understanding of each other, whatever that is. But Will's visible helplessness and Jada's relentless slandering of his self-respect, while she almost seemed to be deriving some sort of twisted pleasure from it, was just too much. It was the straw that broke the camel's back and is widely considered to be the most humiliating experience any A-lister had ever put himself through in Hollywood history. They did try to continue their BS and acted as if the whole quote-unquote deep conversation changed their lives for the better and that they were closer than ever, but people saw the real Will and Jada for the first time and they didn't like what they saw. Jada was being trashed online by Will Smith's fans for putting him through that harrowing experience. The people were also begging him to get away from Jada, who almost seemed like an evil bitch, while Will was hailed as the helpless, loving husband, despite his rumored affair with Margot Robbie, which apparently went on and off for 2 whole years. But the rapper August Alsina made things a whole lot worse for Jada after stating that she had had multiple affairs since 2016, and he also revealed that he had an affair with her himself. Yep, he was the previously mentioned Jaden's friend, also revealing that it apparently happened with Will Smith's consent. This whole thing revealed the entire truth about Will and Jada's relationship to the public, who did not take kindly to this. Their whole PR game had to be airtight for years for them to get away with something of this magnitude. But they weren't giving up on each other yet, because they suddenly started making public appearances together, and even their daughter Willow came out in her mother's support where she applauded her for being honest and open, and it started to look like they were happier than ever, even though we could see snippets of Jada's ongoing cuckery and humiliation of Will. Well, no one ever blamed Will and Jada of being bad actors, but even they are not that good. But Will has mentioned multiple times as to how he ignored his children and family and was always focused on himself, and this looked like Jada's way of getting back at him and all the hurt that he caused her in her own twisted way. And as unbelievable as it seems, things only got worse. Because then came the Burma damaging event, the Oscar slap in 2022. On the night where Will was supposed to be honored with the first Academy Award of his career, he did the unthinkable. He outright slapped Chris Rock on stage over a light-hearted bald joke which Chris made towards Jada. The joke really didn't seem to be as offensive or in bad taste. And even if it was, it very well could have been dealt with in a mature and classy manner. But the way Will reacted exposed his crumbling state of mind. The slap wasn't a brave act to protect his wife's honor. It looked like it was a desperation move to get into Jada's good books while the quote-unquote elites just sat there and watched. And even after causing this embarrassing scene, Will still got the Oscar and even got a goddamn standing ovation by the crowd. But in the aftermath, he was banned by the Academy Awards for a decade. And for a brief moment, it looked like Will Smith had become a pariah, an outcast, and rightfully so. But
it's Hollywood, baby.
yup, Smith was back to the big screens with another run-of-the-mill franchise film in the form of Bad Boys Ride or Die, and has 3 films lined up for release. But even though Hollywood might have forgiven him for all the debauchery and degenerate behavior, Will Smith's public image hasn't even been close to what it was prior to 2019. It's like people are just tired of all the fake BS the whole family has been pulling for over 2 decades. So fast forward to today, the Will Smith brand has hit a new low. We see Smith scrounging desperately to keep himself relevant by releasing albums and singles that nobody's giving a flying f*** about. It's almost like he released the single Pretty Girls to get away from the long-standing rumors of him being non-gender, binary, fluid thing or whatever, in an attempt to regain some semblance of the popularity that he once had with the family audiences. He's being seen with every influencer, YouTuber, and musical artist of color, trying to seem as if he's their best friend in the world, like he's known them since childhood or something, to try and promote his sinking music career. He's literally showing up in the middle of London trying to rev up the crowd in order to promote his album, but the people in the background look like they couldn't care less. The fall from grace is unbelievable. On the other hand, Jada has been a recluse after all the chaos, and it looks like she's keeping her distance from Will for the time being. Well, nothing better than wrecking and leaving. And Jaden has been embroiled in a ton of controversy himself, like doing drugs bang in the middle of Paris, and it also seems like his mental health has declined rapidly. You can tell me that he's happy and that he's just experimenting with outfits, but I can tell you with certainty and life experience that that's not how sane people dress up or behave. Willow seems to be the only one who's done better, but not by that much. She's had minor controversies herself, but it's nowhere near the nuclear storms that the other Smiths have riled up. Will has also spoken about his own battle with mental health and how he bounced back from all the adversities. But it honestly seems like a heavily scripted PR damage control run to try and get back to old form. He just seems like he's reading straight out of a script that was handed to him by his PR team. Well, the decadence of the Smiths seems to be happening parallelly with the inevitable fall of Hollywood, and it looks like the days of Hollywood megastars being above reproach are over. And as far as the Smith family is concerned, they have all gone their separate directions, all of which seem to steer them further and further away from relevance and top-tier status in the entertainment industry. But for what it's worth, I'm still a fan of Will Smith of the old. You know, the I Am Legend and Independence Day Will Smith. A man who, at least from the outside, looked like the second coming of Denzel Washington. Someone who seemed like he would take his culture and his people to the next level in Hollywood, all while being a cornerstone for the industry for decades to come. Insa.
That's too f***ing bad.
All of that was all show no go. And as far as we can tell, the ending of the Smiths is finally here. That's it for today, folks. I'm gonna go have a vanilla chocolate chip donut.